Hey everyone, welcome back to AFTV. I'm here with Turkish for our second ever Run It Back. Something we're going to be doing much more regularly going forward, obviously because we're having an international break.
Makes sense.
Absolutely, I think this is an opportunity to not only get our opinions on Arsenal, which I think we do a lot of throughout the week.
Yeah, of course.
But it's about hearing other fans' perspective. It's about talking about the wider context around Arsenal, because, and I think there's no better week to make this point, we lost 4-0 at Liverpool and stayed fifth, and actually, in the grand scheme of things, didn't really lose ground, which is kind of why we do this show, to look at the wider picture around Arsenal. But how are you doing, man? You were in Liverpool?
Yeah, I was.
How was it? Good trip back?
It wasn't great, It wasn't great. It is what it is. I was optimistic, hence why I made the trip up there. First 30 minutes, as everyone, has talked about, looked better, but in the end, it ended in the same manner.
Really dark, I shouldn't laugh. I think because it's the way you put it, that looked better, and then I'm like, it did. Was it better, or did it just look better? Ultimately, it wasn't. But anyway, we've discussed that in lots of fan cams and shows and everything. But I think one of the, I don't want to call it a turning point necessarily, but a moment, like a kind of like a pitchfork moment in the game where you think, okay, like, did this have an impact? Was the Arteta Klopp spark on the touchline? At the time, I was very vocal about the fact that I felt Arteta responded in a way I liked. He showed some bite, he showed some aggression, he showed something that I felt Arsenal have lacked in these away games. I don't think it translated to the players though, and I think that in itself was a problem. We're going to get the reactions of some of the people and just give you a little insight to why we're talking about this. But what was your reaction at the time? Like, not in hindsight, in the ground, you're seeing it happening. What are you thinking?
At the time, in isolation, I like a bit of that.
Yeah.
I've always liked a bit of that. I think football lacks a bit of that fight, a bit of that, rivalry, especially since the years of me growing up in Arsenal, Man United, and the fierce rivalries we had, and the fights and the problems we had. I loved that.
Sure.
Because it was a part of football for me. So I loved seeing Arteta emotional. Yeah. But in hindsight, it probably wasn't the best thing to do.
Yeah, and we're going to break down why that might be, guys. But first, there were some fan cams with Alex from Klopp TV and another Liverpool fan as well. Have a little listen to these opinions here, and then we're going to discuss a little bit, maybe in a bit more detail, why the feud might not have been the best thing at the time, whatever. But have a listen to these.
I think for the first half an hour, I was talking to Lee and Turkish. You did your job, but the worst thing that could have happened for you was Arteta riling up Klopp.
Really? Because that for me, if I was a player seeing that,
stood up. The crowd was a different level, and I think 3 minutes later we scored.
Yeah, because see, for me, when that happened, if I was a player playing for Arsenal, I'd have seen that and be like, do you know what? Let's get up for this. And a lot of people are saying at half time,
the wrong or right way. That.
Yeah.
So that's what Alex from Klopp TV had to say. We've got another one as well, another Liverpool fan. I'm sure they're enjoying coming on our channel and listening to, giving their thoughts on a very impressive 4-0 win for them. It was mentioned again. It's almost like Liverpool fans maybe understand from a much better perspective why you don't rile up Klopp in these situations. You don't rile up Anfield. Again, have a little listen to this.
Everyone's talking about that was the changing point, that was the changing moment.
Yeah, Klopp, after that you did concede another 3, so I think that could have been the changing point, because I think it did rally Liverpool fans up, and it rallied the Liverpool team up as well, but it just didn't do anything to Arsenal, which is unexpected. Maybe because they were away, maybe, I'm not too sure, but maybe because they're unexperienced as well.
Didn't do anything to Arsenal. And I agree, and that's what I was hoping for at the time. So go on, hindsight now, time goes on, you've seen what happened after. Was it, I don't want to call it a mistake from Arteta, because I don't think he did anything wrong, but if in a perfect world, are we hoping for a different outcome there?
I think it's a bit of naivety. I think he was overzealous. I guess you could understand that, being at Anfield and the pressure that Arteta's been under during his whole time at Arsenal Football Club, the moments where, a lot of the fans were against him, the moments where a lot of fans thought that, he should be let go. And at that stage, it was 0-0. And that naivety, in my opinion, it did cost us a little. It didn't cost us the game, because Liverpool are a better side than us.
Sure.
I don't think the game sits on that moment between Arteta and Klopp. I think 9 times out of 10 we lose that game regardless of that incident. But I just think with the young side we have and the experience that Liverpool have, and it's at their ground, and a formidable ground at times. I think that overzealousness cost us a little bit anyway.
You know, when I started to change my perspective was when, go check out the Klopp TV, I believe there was a bit of discussion about whether Anfield, what the atmosphere, and Alex obviously mentioned that in his fan cam. When you're in the watch long, you don't hear it with the sound on. But I was under the impression that this was a very subdued game at times because Arsenal's game plan was working. Yeah. We kept them at arm's length. Sure, we weren't doing a lot going forward, and I've broken that down with Graham on Tactical Insight. But defensively, a couple of chances here and there, but we kept them at a good arm's length. And I felt that in hindsight, having heard what you guys said, well, actually, before I go on, tell us, you were there at the game, Anfield. Did it feel at that time like there was maybe a little bit of tension in the crowd? Maybe it was a case of watching and waiting rather than the kind of cauldron you expect?
Yeah, it was that. I mean, not only did Arsenal fans come into that game a lot more optimistic than we have in the last few years, Liverpool fans went into that game a lot more hesitant than they have been in a few years. And that's off the back of a couple of results. I spoke to many Liverpool fans after the game, and they said, listen, that first 30 minutes, I'll agree with you. You know, we was quiet, especially when you compare Anfield to its booming self. They was quiet. You know, a bit of that had to do with how Arsenal set up, a bit of that had to do with the few chances they created. Ramsdale, the last line of defence, was there.
True. Maybe some nerves, 1 point in 6 for them. Maybe
of course, that
pressure.
That has a part to play in it as well.
Absolutely.
You know, so I think it being there and seeing it and feeling it, it did definitely create a change in that stadium for sure. And when you see the 90 minutes, not only did it create a change in the stadium, it created a change in the 11 on the field for Klopp, not Arteta. I looked at Klopp's men following that incident, and they took a lot more ownership. They became a lot more, I don't know, aggressive with their intent going forward. Yeah. So I do think in hindsight, and this is in hindsight, speaking in hindsight, it's a great thing to do. Yeah. You know,
it's the best part of our jobs.
Yeah. On the flip side,
we're never wrong in hindsight, are we?
On the flip side, if Arteta does that and we go on and we nick a win or we get a draw and the young players fight, it looks great. You know, some emotion in there, something we haven't been used to in a long time with our managers. Yeah. But it didn't. It's
true. Well, this is what Jurgen Klopp had to say. We've got the quote here. He says, it was a completely clean situation, so nothing happened. 2 players jumped in the air. Nobody touched the other really, not like a foul. And the bench of Arsenal is going for whatever. I just asked, what do you want for that? That was Jurgen Klopp's feelings on the situation. Okay, let's go to the very heart of this first. Does Arteta have a point? Does he have a right to be infuriated? Because I'm surprised it was something so innocuous that allowed it to spill over. But I did feel Liverpool getting away with a few things. I felt Van Dijk got away with a yellow card when Saka spun him. I felt there were a few tackles on Tomiyasu. Yep. One, I'm not going to jump on this hard, it was a red card scissor tackle by Mane. But for sure, a pretty reckless one. There was one off the pitch as well. I can kind of understand why Arteta's getting very irate that these things have been let go, and we've also seen in the past a Trent Alexander-Arnold high boot into the knee go unpunished, a Mane elbow go unpunished. And later in this, Jurgen Klopp talks about Sadio Mane. He said everyone goes for Mane. Well, there might be a little bit of a reason there, Jurgen. And let's be honest, these are the sort of tackles that Jurgen Klopp has been the most vocal manager in the Premier League about when it comes to wanting to avoid them, saying the game's got to evolve, it's not the same, trying to protect his players. So I don't really respect Jurgen Klopp's opinion from that side of things, but I understand why that moment in isolation, he's going, really? Yeah. But then I kind of get Arteta feeling aggrieved as well.
I think the word you said, innocuous, I think that springs to mind. I didn't feel like that was the reaction needed for what I was seeing out there. Don't get me wrong. Michael Oliver failed to make some decisions, and some decisions he gave the other way. And, you know, once, twice, 3 times, it can be jarring, but I didn't see anything in those 50-50s or the tackles or the challenges that gave a reason to Arteta reacting in that way. I do think it was a bit of...
Did he lose his cool a little bit then?
Obviously, yeah. I've never seen Arteta like that.
Because I love the... wanted to inject fight and everything. We're here on the watch long. I love it. Come on, stand up to this guy. I love it. But then you've also got to stop and think, things are going your way here. the biggest wind up is actually to say nothing.
Yep.
It's just to go, smile and go, all right, whatever.
Say, keep it down over there.
Right, because we are at the time looking pretty composed and following a game plan. And you could see the wheels coming off. If Arsenal were kind of a perfect truck at the beginning, one wheel fell off and then it kind of got worse. And again, we're not sitting here saying that we're blaming Arteta. Well, certainly not for the outburst, whether you want to go into tactics or whatever's another thing. I think it was mainly inexperience that cost us. But an experienced side might have responded to Arteta's touchline fire and all that. And look, maybe we're overanalyzing it, but it's everyone's talking about it. Yeah. Everyone's talking about it.
I mean, you're talking about a reaction. I think Liverpool's 11 reacted. It was Arsenal's that failed to react to it. And again, I don't put that down to the players. I think they're a young team. The majority of young players on that pitch are up against. It was men against boys at times.
It was, yeah.
And I look at our experienced players, and I ask myself, did that moment from Arteta rally the experienced players up? Oba, Laka, Partey. I didn't actually see it.
Yeah, I saw Gabriel come over one tackle on the touchline. I enjoyed that.
Can I ask you something?
Go on.
If a player does that on the pitch, exactly what Arteta did, where people are holding him back, and then the player's like, get off me, and then the player eventually gets a red card or 2 yellows, and would all be on his back saying that's unprofessional and so on. This ain't me blaming Arteta, but at the same time, in hindsight, hopefully he learns from that. Because Anfield's a cauldron, and we done so well in the first half an hour. And we don't want a trophy for it. We don't need a medal for it. It's absolutely nothing. Me saying we done well for half an hour is not me trying to find a positive amongst a whole heap of negatives. It's me just being real with what I've witnessed at Anfield over the years. The first 30 minutes, kept it quiet. They had more questions than answers, and it looked good. I was content. And then that little moment happened, and then from that it kind of all unravelled. Obviously the first goal, the second goal, and then the rest is history.
Yeah, absolutely right. Well, Mikel Arteta did have his response. Here's what he said. He said that Klopp was trying to defend his side, Arsenal trying to defend mine, and that's it. I think the atmosphere was incredible right from the beginning, so that's it. Maybe I'm being a little harsh. I think Mikel Arteta is incredibly clever and calculated with what he says and how. I think he's clever. I think he knows what he's saying. And I think dropping that line on the atmosphere was incredible from the beginning.
Protects him.
It protects him. It protects him because, as we said, people who are there are going, this wasn't the Anfield we know. And Graham made a great point. I know injuries played a massive part for Liverpool's season last year, but even having no crowd, they are very much a 12th man Anfield, and when you get them going, when you pour that fuel on the fire, it's a different game. And I think it was maybe ill-timed a little bit, that moment. But look, again, he's showing fight, and I hope the players, either next time they've got to be one entity. It's got to be, your players have to represent you. And if that's what you're feeling, you want the players to be there with you. And if you're going to keep composure, because that's the best thing for your young group, then that. But it can't be your manager's going nuts and your players are going, what's this lunatic doing? Well, all right, relax, boss.
And funnily enough, in a few years, we might look back at this moment and say, you know what? That was the start of something special. And I say that because there isn't much of a rivalry between us and Liverpool. It wasn't, well, in the Premier League era anyway. It's not like we've been challenging for the same title, we're not local rivals, we haven't got nothing like that. But that little moment from Arteta and Klopp, it didn't go in our way on the weekend. But obviously now there's more in the next fixture. People are going to watch out for how Arteta and Klopp, play
more of an atmosphere at the Emirates now, I think.
Are they not? And so on. And I'm not saying Arsenal are going to do anything this year, because I've been very vocal that I don't think we can do anything this year in terms of making top 4. But what I mean in a few years, if Arsenal go the way that Arteta and Ed do hope and have promised us with this process, maybe one day in a few years we're up there with a Liverpool, and we're actually
there's
rivals.
A bit of something,
wouldn't
that be
of
nice?
Fight, but that's wishful thinking.
I've heard too many Liverpool
moment.
fans saying, I quite like Arsenal. I'm like, I don't want you to like us.
And that shows how far we've kind of fallen off.
Absolutely. Well, guys, that was the main topic of the day. Arteta versus Klopp. Did it have an impact on the ultimate performance, the result? Let us know in the comment section. We'll be there discussing it with you guys as well. Don't forget to subscribe, hit like on this video. Now we're going to go into a couple other topics. So for the second half of the show, the big one, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. has left Manchester United. Has he left? Has he been sacked? I don't really know. Something's happened, but he's out the door.
Something's happened. 4-1. Watford happened.
Yeah, that is what happened.
Liverpool happened.
I've got to say, the goals were appalling. Harry Maguire, I saw someone make a great point when he did the England celebration. Didn't he start with that and then do that? So you're listening to the haters or not? Like, you know, he's like, God, I can take it or I'm not listening. Yeah. So I'm not sure. I've got to be honest, I never watched it back. I found it too cringe. But he got sent off. That ultimately, I mean, they were 2-0, 2-0, 2-1, whatever the score was. Another 2 goals. Ollie's out the door. We love Flex. Check out the United View. He's got his channel. In a discussion after he was sacked, there was a really interesting discussion they had on the show. Listen to this, and we're going to break it down after.
Cool.
Yes. Ollie leaves with our sincerest thanks for his tireless efforts as manager and our very best wishes for the future. His place in the club's history will always be secure, not just for the story as a player, but as a great man and a manager who gave us many great moments. He will forever be welcome back at Old Trafford as part of the Manchester United family. The last bit, Michael Carrick will now take charge of the team for forthcoming games. Forthcoming, that means 3, 4, maybe 5. Couple, who knows? While the club looks to appoint an interim manager to the end of the season. So a lot of interesting stuff there. I mean, we'll get to the bit about, you know, they're being nice to Ollie. They've handled it in the right way. The wording was nice. Let's just get to the meat of it. Michael Carrick is going to be taking charge for the forthcoming games. So we're going to be going to Villarreal with a manager who's never even managed before, which we knew would happen, struggling. And the club are going to be seeking an interim now. The process has started for an interim manager just to the end of the season. Then there's going to have to be another interims going on for the actual manager. So they're holding out for something.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the part of the statement that really stood out to me. When I saw that, I went, whoa, I was not expecting that. I was expecting Carrick to be the interim. And Carrick's almost the interim to the interim. He's just the bridge between getting the interim in. And my concern about that is that is dangerously close to where we were 3 years ago. I mean, it's the same place we were 3 years ago. And then I look at that and I think, right, so who would this interim coach be? Because, you know, Zidane an interim coach, obviously. So that puts Zidane off the table. That's basically, well, we might go after Zidane in the summer. You know, Ten Hag and an interim coach. You know, so who's that interim coach going to be? They were saying last night, you know, Laurent Blanc, and we laughed about it and joked about it with KG, didn't we? Because obviously he got the name wrong and all that kind of stuff. But that's an interim coach. And again, my concern with that is we're in the same place that we were 3 years ago. And on top of that, well, you know, because you never know how these interim coaches are going to go. You could argue the season's just been completely written off. There's still time to turn it around and, you know, actually pursue and go somewhere in the Champions League or win an FA Cup. You know, we're not going to win the league, certainly, but at least qualify, play some good football, implement a philosophy to build on next season. There's still time to do that. And my concern is, you know, forget the Carrick bit. But now with this interim coach at the end of the season, we've basically just said, like, yeah, we're going to address it in the summer. That's it, over.
Go check out the United View, amazing channel that Flex has put together there. Must add some context as well. At the beginning of that was Flex reading out the statement that the club released. I don't think he was giving his opinion at that point. Yeah. But Michael Carrick comes in, Ollie's gone. They made some great points there, interim to the interim, but there's still plenty that can be salvaged this season. There's still plenty that a new manager can build on so that next season can be somewhat successful for them. This is a team that, for me, they're the biggest club in the country. You know, they are massive. Yeah. I mean, I level with Liverpool at least.
Can I tell you the best thing about it?
Go on.
They've gone for someone with 2 syllables in their surname. So the song stands. Carrick's at the wheel, Carrick's at the wheel. So hopefully, whoever they go for next, 2 syllables, that's all I'm asking for.
I was sitting there thinking, what the hell is he talking about?
That's all I'm asking for. That song will remain. Listen, Man United have gone through Moyes, who they thought deserved the next step up.
They've gone through the wheel. Nice. Yeah.
They've gone through Jose, who's done it all. Yeah. Then they went to Ole, who's done nothing. What's next? What is next for this Manchester United side?
Michael Carrick.
There you go.
Well, the thing that staggers me, I've never heard of an interim to the interim. No. I've never heard We think we've got problems at Arsenal. I think, but this is where Arsenal United fans can shake hand and go, we hate our owners. I'm not here to talk crocky. We could go into that for ages. But it's like they're going, right, we need a guy for now to hold the fort till we get the guy for the end of the season, to buy us the time to find the guy we want going forward. Yeah. It's like, did you not for 1 second plan for the fact that Ollie might not be the guy?
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying they should be planning for sacking their manager. But an interim to an interim is, I mean, we've known Ollie was I kind of feel for the guy, but we've known he was a dead man walking for what, a month?
At least.
It's...
I think when you're a big club, you've got to think proactively, and part of that proactive thinking is, listen, if this manager doesn't, meet the targets in the next 6 months, because football is a short-term game now in terms of management and expectation. So I feel like a big club should have candidates in mind. I look at when Arsenal, finally let go of Arsene Wenger, parted ways. It didn't look like we had that shortlist. It seemed like we just came up with it after. Yeah. But then you look at Man City, who near the end of, well, not near the end, but with Pellegrini, they was forward thinking enough to bring Pep in. Yeah, it's true. Well, City are a fantastic football institution. They plan for these things. This is, again, Arsenal and United fans can kind of shake hands on the fact that we look at our side, our clubs, and wonder where the proactiveness is. This season, after our window, maybe we're starting to see a little bit of that. But it's something that I think we can all agree on. We look at and we're like, oh my God, massive football clubs, really? From an Arsenal perspective, I think they've let Ollie go, but I almost think we've got the best situation out of that, because what we've got is a Man United that have made it abundantly clear that they don't really know what they want their next move to be. And that can only be a good thing, especially because we're playing them in a couple of weeks. So, I mean, where do we go? I mean, let's try and analyse how Ollie did. Yep. Very briefly. Yep. I'm going to be real. I don't think he did as bad a job as I think he'll be remembered for. I think he got third. That comeback, that run that sort of scraped them past Leicester and Chelsea into third place. Appalling points tally, but who cares? They got third. That's all that matters. They then get second the year after. Okay, Liverpool fell away and Chelsea got Tuchel mid-season, but still, they finished second. At 1 point, they're top of the league. And I do think he's built a more likeable squad. Gary Neville always talks about likeability and the culture or whatever. And I think there is a squad there that, unlike the squad Jose left, a manager can come in and almost do what Tuchel did. Win the Champions League in a year. That is the worry. That is the worry. They get a good manager, they could win the Champions League. He has done some good bits, Ollie. Absolutely. I think it's a case of not overstaying your welcome, but there's a certain place certain managers can get you to. And I think Ole was there maybe a year or two ago. Yeah. And if he left at that time and a more experienced manager
I think if he left this summer, perfect.
He would have been, he would have been remembered, still loved, as much as he was when he scored that Champions League final goal. Yeah. I'm not saying much of that is tarnished, because it's different. A player and a manager is different roles, and whatever a man does as a manager shouldn't have an effect on what he done for the club as a player. Yeah. He's obviously still a legend over there. But yeah, I actually look at Rodgers and Leicester similarly, and we're going to talk about them soon. But Rodgers is having a tough season this season, and let's say it continues this way and Rodgers doesn't see the end of the year, he will go out looking bad. Yeah. No one will remember the 2-3 years beforehand where he nearly created something special.
Football. That's the thing about football. If Arteta were to leave, would we be remembering him for the FA Cup? And that is football. You're sometimes almost as good as your last result. Yep. I want to ask you 3 big questions, starting with this. Who's the better manager, Mourinho or Ollie? We've got a higher spend for Ollie. He's got a better goals per game ratio. Yeah. He's got a lower win percentage. Their best league finish is both second place, although Ollie did finish third in another season. I think Mourinho only got into the top 4 once out of the 3 seasons he competed, well, 2.5, however long it was. But he did get 2 trophies on the board with the Carabao Cup and the Europa League. Who's the better manager?
It has to be Jose. The 2 trophies matter. You combine that with less money spent, although it's 30 mil between them, 25 mil between them. I think it has to be Jose. None of the other things matter. Goals, conceded, win percentage. It's the trophies that matter at the end of the day, and Jose has 2 of them.
I think Ollie has left them in a better place than Jose did, but I think Jose was the more successful manager.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Okay, second question. Yep. Next manager. These are the odds. We've got Pochettino's obviously still at PSG. Rodgers at Leicester, that's been talked about a lot in recent weeks. Zidane, who we know is available. Ralf Rangnick, who's employed as a sporting director, I believe.
Yep.
And Ten Hag at Ajax. Now, let me ask you, who do you think they'll get, whether it's now or in the summer? Who's going to be their next permanent appointment? And who do you think is a good appointment for them? Who would you be?
It looks like they're going for Poch. It looks like Zidane's not interested, so there's something going to be worked out with PSG, Zidane, Poch, United, whatever. But out of the names on the list, the most worrying name for me, in my personal opinion, would be Ten Hag.
Really?
Yeah, because
that's interesting.
You know, I think Ralf Rangnick deserves some credit too. But I think with Ten Hag, what I've seen from him and what I've seen him produce, if he can, you know, take that next step up and do it at a bigger club like a United, you know, that's what I'm more worried about. I think the rest of them, you know, Pochettino, Rodgers, they've got that. Even though Rodgers won the FA Cup recently, an FA Cup is not going to make Man United fans happy. It might make them happy short term because they haven't won since 2017, but they're looking for bigger things. And the managers on that list, aside from Zidane, haven't done bigger things.
Very
so
true.
Again, like I said earlier, James, they had Moyes, they've had Jose, Van Gaal, and Ole. And none of them have produced anything.
A pretty
close to
wide
Sir
range
Alex.
of skill sets and fits and stuff. It's a very good point. All right, well we'll see who Man United do bring in. The search continues. I don't know.
Rooney ruled himself out. Did you see that
Wayne
video?
Rooney.
Yeah.
I saw a report, and it might be a joke. I didn't even click on it. I've been, you know how busy we've been working today. I read Steve Bruce has put his name
Imagine.
forward. But again, I don't even know. That might just be a joke. So please don't quote me on that.
Someone on Twitter said no one even asked Rooney, and he's out here saying, "No, I'm happy. I'm happy where I am."
All good. I'm all like everything's fair enough. Let's move on to the kind of final topics of the day. We're going to have a little look at the league table because we talk about our rivals and that race for top four. I think we're very much looking at West Ham. I think Arsenal have clawed themselves into, they're saying, to having the rights to discuss top four. You know, obviously with losing to Liverpool 4-0, we're still 5th place. West Ham lost at Wolves, so we're only 3 behind them. But then Wolves, Spurs, United, Brighton, all within 3 points of us there. And I feel like those are the sides. But you've still got your Everton and Leicester seeing the second half of the table that I think we all thought would do a little bit better, even Aston Villa. You wanted to pick out Leicester because you feel Brendan Rodgers, well, not up to par at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, with Leicester, I saw Leicester as one of the teams we need to catch up to over the last couple of years. They've had very good seasons, seasons where they've been predominantly top 4, albeit dropped out at the end. They won the FA Cup recently to tide that over, let's say. But this season, it hasn't gone for them. When I looked at their transfer window, I thought they was quite shrewd. I think they was good with their business. And
Soumaré, Daka, all of them, On
the flip side, I thought Arsenal didn't have a great window, but here we are in 5th place and Leicester are struggling in 12th. So I feel like with Brendan Rodgers, obviously he's been touted a lot with Arsenal, Tottenham at one time, even Man United right now. I feel like he's in a difficult position right now to turn it round. It seems like week after week, I expect them to come back, but they just keep on getting worse. Most recently against Chelsea, 3-0 at home. That is poor. That's not the Leicester we've seen over the last couple of years. So without a transfer window now, Rodgers has to try and turn around this mini dip in form.
Yeah, absolutely.
But at the same time, the league table, I'm not saying it's a lie, but you see Everton, Leicester and Aston Villa in the bottom half. 2 game weeks can change all of that. We know how quickly things can change.
Oh, they're still within 5 points of 5th. I know 8 points off top 4 sounds like a lot, but that can be easily recoverable, especially when you look at the teams you are chasing in that top 10. You know, there's no guarantee Arsenal don't fall away, obviously we pray they don't. There's no guarantee West Ham, Brighton, Palace don't fall out, the Wolves don't fall out there either. So I think we're in for an amazing top 4 race, I have to say. Just a word on Brendan Rodgers for me. I just wanted to say, look, I think he's done a good job. I looked at the money he spent since coming into the job. You know, in that time, Man City spent £450 million since his first full summer in charge. Man United, £400 million plus. Arsenal, Villa and Chelsea, all around the £300 million plus. But then you've got Leicester and Spurs, who spent 200. Now, I will say, Leicester are like right down like 206 million or so, whereas Spurs, I may as well put them in the 300 million category because they are like 292. But still, you know, they've not spent over 300 million in that time. And I think it just shows you when you look at the money Villa have spent, even Everton, again, they're high up on that range. I put them, they're in the 100 million category, Liverpool, but Liverpool did their spending a bit before. Everton, again, they're higher up, more than 160, 170, I believe. But it just shows you how much you have to spend, how difficult it is to be competitive in this league, and also how important managers are, because just spending doesn't make it happen for you. But credit to Leicester, because you look at the teams they're in and around. They finished 5th a couple of years in a row. Really should have got 4th, 2 home games in a row on the final days that haven't got them over the line. They'll be disappointed by that. So I think he's done a good job, but for sure there's a sense that the wheels come off for Rodgers after a point. After maybe 2-3 years, it just starts to go a little bit stale. So yeah, I was pretty unimpressed with them, I've got to say, when we played them. I know they had a spell, but we were comfortable for a good hour of that game.
It wasn't the Leicester I've become used to over the last couple of years.
Completely agree. Completely agree.
And I think they doubled down on that against Chelsea, because they was even worse against Chelsea.
Yeah, absolutely spot on. Final question of the day, final thing we want to discuss. Who's going down? Now I know it's very early, but we do have the table again. I just thought I'd get you a quick take. We haven't really talked about this, so I really like doing this show. I know we're only 2 episodes in, but I like it because I like to discuss and get your thoughts on other things that we never really talk about. I've got to say, below Villa, that's where I'm looking. I don't think Villa are in that scrap. I don't think Brentford are in that scrap personally. Watford, Leeds, Burnley, Norwich, Newcastle. Which 3 are going to seal their fate in the Championship?
Start of the season, before the season was underway, I said Watford, Norwich and Southampton. That was my
Watford,
3.
Norwich, Southampton. Wow, okay.
And up until this weekend, I guess people would have dismissed Southampton, but when you're losing to Norwich...
It's very true. It's a very good point.
They can be dragged down back into it. But obviously, if you look at the table now, Newcastle without a win yet this season, Norwich have got a couple now under their belt. It looks mad for Newcastle. I'd love nothing more than to see Newcastle relegated, because obviously that they're
buys us a bit of time, doesn't it?
Well, we're going to need it. We're going to need it.
That's very true, very true. I've got to say, I think Dean Smith, fair play to him, great start, and obviously they won at Brentford. I think Norwich, I'm not confident in. I just don't see an 11 of players. Sometimes you see good sides, like Stoke when they went down had really good players. I'm not sure I see the players there.
No.
Burnley, I think, will ultimately be fine. They've started putting a range of performances together. And I kind of think Leeds will be fine, so I feel like maybe Watford, Norwich and Newcastle in the end of it. But
I don't remember a league table with so many minus goal differences before.
But bro, we lost 4-0 and stayed 5th with a better goal difference than Spurs.
That's crazy.
Now I'm not here to troll Spurs. Fair play, Conte, half-time team talk, did great. But just shows
14 of the 20 teams are on minus goal difference.
But then look at the goal differences for Chelsea, City, Liverpool.
Yeah. That's why everyone else is on minus.
Slapping everyone up. All right, so 5-0 there, 4-0 there, 2.
Give them 6, why not?
It's unbelievable. Wolves doing well to have a 0 goal. Palace have a +1.
Does that make the league poor this year, or does it? Because
I just think those 3 are so good, and everyone's capable of beating everyone. I think in previous years I've talked about the calibre of the league being poor. This year, especially when I look around Europe as well, I think we've got a very, very good competitive league. I still, despite everything, and I look at those teams, I don't fancy Arsenal. I'm not confident if Arsenal go to Leeds, Watford, Villa, Brentford, Southampton, Everton, Leicester. I know we won at Leicester. They're all in the bottom half. And I still am weary about those away games. So I think there's a good quality. Bruno Lage, is that his name, Bruno Lage? The Wolves manager has come in, doing a great job already.
1 point behind us.
Yeah, there you go. All right, well that's it. Thank you for joining me,
No
Turkish.
worries, James.
Let us know in the comment section everything we've been talking about. Ollie, Rodgers, the table, who's going down. We mentioned Arteta versus Klopp. Did it make a massive difference to what ultimately happened at Anfield? Personally, no, but I do think it played a part.
Definitely.
So let us know, like, subscribe, join us next week for Run It Back as well, where we're going to be having some fans' opinions live on the show as well. Really excited to bring you that. So lots to come as we explore the Premier League and more around European football perhaps. Let's see, we're keeping an eye on Xavi's Barcelona as well. All right guys, it's been great. Thanks very much. See you next week.
Love.